I'm sorry. I've got the giggles now, it's fine. Okay. Welcome back. Let's get shifty. I'm Christine.
And I'm C.
And today we're going to talk about our DRs.
Yeah, we figured that doing a more in-depth talk about our DRs would be not only fun for us, but fun for you guys, because we constantly get questions about them. So, and we love to talk about them, literally, like, almost all of our conversations, even, like, in our personal time, is us talking about our DRs to each other, so...
Yeah, literally. It's so fun to talk about. And yeah, I think I've gotten a lot of comments saying that it's really motivating to hear like just little details about things around your DR. So I figured that we'd have that discussion today and just see where it leads us.
Yeah. So where should we even start with this?
Where do we begin?
Why don't you tell me about the first time that you shifted to your first DR?
So The first time I shifted to my Golden Trio era DR, which also is a university, don't cancel me. So the first time I shifted to my Golden Trio era DR, I was in a bed, and I was like, I just felt bed sheets around me, and I was like, oh, God damn it, didn't work, whatever. So I just kind of rolled over in the bed. And then Padma Patil ripped open the curtain and was like, get the fuck up, basically. She was like, we've almost missed breakfast, get up, and I was so... Can you, like, just imagine that as a situation happening to you. I was so bleary-eyed, out of my mind. She must have thought I was insane. She must have thought I was absolutely insane. So eventually I gathered myself enough to go, like, to the bathroom and get changed. And I was looking at myself in the mirror, like, what is happening? Like, touching my face and, like, looking at myself and being like, holy shit. And then I came out again, and I remember... I picked up my wand, because that's a thing, and I wanted to see if magic worked, because I still couldn't quite believe that this was a thing that I was going through. So I Accio-ed my potions book, and then Padma kind of side-eyes me and goes, you don't have potions today, are you okay? And I was like, yeah, I'm fine. And to kind of explain away the weird behavior, I just told her that I'd had like a scary dream that I didn't have magic anymore and I had to test it out.
Nice save.
But the whole day I was there, I know, nice save. The whole day I was there, I was so out of my mind, like, there's not even a word to explain how fucked up I was the whole day. Like, we went to breakfast and we barely had any time for breakfast because it was just Padma and I, and she had to go run to arithmancy, I think, and I was just staying. I just sat in the Great Hall, which, as you know, is that a normal thing for a student to do, to just sit in the Great Hall for like an hour after breakfast?
No, not at all.
Yeah, I know that, and I knew that because I knew that, and I had the memories, but I was like, I just can't face going anywhere. I just can't. I can't, basically. So that's what I did, and then I went to a couple of classes, and at the end of the day, I was like in the inter-house common room, and the whole time, after defense, my friend Anthony was like telling me how crazy I was seeming, and he was like, oh, Padma's gonna go in fucking full mum mode soon. You need to at least pretend you're not batshit insane right now, please. And I was like, thanks, bestie. And it was just weird. I just remember, like, I'm not a touchy person anyway, but the kind of relationship Anthony and I had, I was always very... See, I swear to God! We were just always very comfortable touching each other.
Oh, really?
Like, platonically, like platonic besties. Touching each other. So he would, like, casually sling his arm around me, and we just, like, held hands sometimes, like, platonically, you know? And it was just, like, you know... Okay, at that point, to be fair, it was platonic. But every time he, like, leaned for me, every time he, like, reached out to touch me, I was like... like, because it was just so fucking weird. Because it was just so weird. I couldn't believe that it was actually a thing that was happening. And so he was very much the whole day. He was like, are you good? Are you okay? Like, what is happening? But yeah, it was weird. And from that, when you're scripting, script that you're alone for the first 10 minutes that you shift. Don't script that somebody screams at you to wake you up, because that's stressful.
Yeah, sounds like it.
It was so, I only stayed for one day as well. It was less than 24 hours. I don't even, I mean, of course, I remember it, but it was so, like, just insane. So I kind of floated through my day, and then when I got into bed at the end of the night, I shifted back immediately because I was like, I cannot handle this right now. So yeah, that's my story.
I was definitely startled as well the first time that I shifted to my actual DR. As I've said multiple times, the first time I shifted was to a one-off DR, so not the correct place, but it was wonky Hogwarts. But when I did shift to the right place, how I had scripted to wake up was that my cousin, my real life cousin who I scripted into my DR, I scripted for him to wake me up in the hospital wing at Hogwarts because I had it in my mind that, like, because I had scripted to be an apparition prodigy, that I had gotten there before everyone else, and I was just like resting in the hospital wing because apparition, especially, I was resting in the hospital wing because apparating across continents is exhausting. So, yeah, I was just like resting in there or something. That's like at least how I had it in my mind. And my cousin came in to wake me up. And at first I thought I was here in this reality. So I was like, what are you doing here? And he was like, what am I doing here? It's more like, what are you doing here, newbie? You're the transfer. And that's what I, like, my eyes shot open and I, like, looked and I was like, what? And I sat up and I, like, saw where I was. I saw that I was in the hospital wing, that I was in one of the cots, and it was, like, I was towards the back, and it was a rainy night, like, suddenly, like, I could hear the rain. The whole thing came into view. I'm looking, and my cousin, who is like basically my brother, is standing there in his robes, and it's just all surreal for me. And so I'm like rapidly feeling everything around me, like looking down, making sure that it's all real, because oh my god, this is the right place. This is exactly how I scripted for things to happen. It's happening, it's happening, it's happening. So I start getting ahead of myself, start getting very excited. And then Professor McGonagall came through the door, and she was like, there you are, and basically, and was like coming towards me, and as she's coming towards me, like, yes, she looks like Dame Maggie Smith, and I'm looking at her coming towards me, and I wanted to pass out, because, like, first of all, like, Professor McGonagall, second of all, Dame Maggie Smith, both of them, amazing, and so then, like, I started hyperventilating, and I just, like, freaked myself out, and I literally was like, no, and I said my safe word and took myself out of it, because I was so overwhelmed. I was there for 5 minutes.
And that's the biggest thing that we can't stress enough. It is so overwhelming. Because so many people are like, oh, I'm going to shift for like a bunch of months for the first time I shift. Are you? Are you going to do that? Or are you going to get there and freak out in less than 24 hours like we did?
Yeah, or less than 5 minutes if you're me, so.
Yeah. I'm surprised that even lasted the full day. I think I was just like, it was like a state of just floating through the day of what the fuck, basically.
Okay, so Christine, since you now shift to the Marauders DR and that is your main DR, is there anything just in particular that you want to say about your first DR or something that you learned from that experience?
Well, mostly I just want to forget it because it ended terribly, but I would say the biggest lesson I've learned is don't script trauma for the spice. Your memories from your DR affect you just as much as your memories here affect you. Shifting is real, because I didn't think it was going to be that real when I made that DR. And Draco Malfoy is a little bitch. That's all.
Fair. 100% fair, and I agree, so.
So, do you want to talk about, like, your core friend group in your DR?
Yeah, I can do that. Well, it includes you, as a matter of fact.
I know.
Yeah, so that's a new thing in my DR as of when I started 5th year. I had added Christine to my script so that she could be at Hogwarts with me. I'm so happy with my life there, but I just really wanted to meet her in person, and like we spend so much of our time talking about our lives in the Harry Potter realm anyways. I wanted to experience it firsthand. As I said, Christine's literally like one of my best friends, so having her there is incredible. So it's her, George Weasley, Fred Weasley, Theo Knott, and my cousin Corey. Those are my main friends, and we hang out like every day now. Even though 5th year is crazy and we do a lot of studying. George and Fred are off doing other things, but us with owls are studying, and Christine's dragging my ass to the library all the time, so it's fun.
As I should. I probably study more there than I do in my own DR. Honestly, I haven't been to classes in so long in my DR because of all the trauma going on. Just been sitting in the hospital wing.
Do you want to talk about your core friend group and your DR then?
Yes, I'm just spacing out a bit there. Well, I'd say my best friend in my DR is not that interesting because she's not canon, but she's my dorm mate. Her name is Rosie. And yeah, we share a dorm together. She's my best friend. And we also share a dorm with an IRL friend who I scripted in. Her name is Sam. And also, I'm in C's DR and they are in my DR. So I'm in Slytherin and they're in Gryffindor. But we are definitely getting closer and closer. Most of the time, I just spend hanging out with Severus Snape, who is my twin brother. So that's a thing that I have to deal with every day. Not regretting that decision at all. No, it's fine. I love him, really. And Sev is dating Sam, my IRL who I scripted in, and I am dating Regulus Black. So me, Sam, Sev, and Regulus is like the besties, I guess. And Rosie, obviously my dormmate, she is dating Evan Rosier, so they hang out with us too, so that's like my core Slytherin friend group. Regulus and I are going through a bit of a time, but we're still together, and I like him lots. Some might even say that I love him. So yeah, we're gonna get through it.
You will say that you love him.
Some, including myself, might say that I love him. But yeah, it's been so fun to have C and my DR, like meeting them, seeing them absolutely put Sirius in his place, as he should be, has been what everybody needs and what Sirius needs. So yeah, I'd say having each other in our DRs is definitely the right choice.
I was added to Christine's DR with the sole intention of being Sirius Black's therapy reckoning.
Absolutely. Especially now, he needs it more than ever after all the drama we've been through.
Yeah, so there's been a lot going on in your DR. I know there's a lot recently that's definitely too much to talk about, but what's the general rundown of the state of things in your Marauders DR, since we don't know much about the Marauders canonically?
Yeah, so the general vibes are that dark times are coming. So I have it in my script that the Dark Lord gets that Voldemort gets defeated before we graduate. So that's gonna happen, but I think that the war is just gonna happen sooner. So we started 5th year now, the war's gonna happen sooner, but hopefully that also means it's gonna be shorter. So dark times are coming, but dark times will also end. But like in general, before all this, my DR is so fun. Started off hating James and Sirius, developed the most unlikely friendship with them, went through the Animagus transformation with them. James and I are the only ones who have like completed it thus far, like fully. So we have that bonding us. And with all the shit that's been going on with Sirius as well, because Sirius has recently been burnt off the family tree. And Remus is kind of dealing with him a lot. So James kind of feels like he's lost his best friend. So James and I definitely bonding a lot, and Regulus has broken up with me for the Dark Lord. So he hasn't really, I'll drag him back. But yeah, I feel like I'm losing Regulus. James feels like he's losing Sirius. So I'd say James and I are definitely best friends right now. And I'm loving it. It's fun. Anyways.
The 180 that this is from the first time that she shifted and met James is so funny.
I know. The way I immediately hated him. Hated him day one.
Literal immediate thing was like she came back and she was like, I fucking hate James Potter. He's so cocky and annoying.
I remember texting in the group chat being like, I hate him, he's so much worse than I thought he would be, and Sirius is even worse. They're cocky, they're arrogant, they're full of themselves, they're bullies, they're horrible, they're stupid, I hate everything about them. And then the more and more I got to know them, the more I realized that perhaps, although they are arrogant little rich boys, there's a lot more depth to them. And I'm super grateful for the friendship that I've developed with James especially. He's a good guy. And eventually C, you will see it too. C still doesn't like James and Sirius and my DR. But they'll see it soon. They're good people.
It's going to take some time for me to like them in that reality, or any reality, I'm sure.
Well, I mean, it's easier to love James than it is to love Sirius, especially now. So I think you will come around to James.
Yeah, I could see myself coming around to James, but Sirius, not Sirius.
Yeah, he's complicated.
Professional, serious black apologist now.
Listen, he's been through okay, I'm done defending him now after all the shit that's happened.
This is literally, onions have layers, like, from Shrek.
He does have layers. Although, to be fair, after everything that's happened with him recently, like, I'm not going to go too much in depth with it, but, like, if you know anything about the Marauders, the werewolf prank happened. So, nobody's team Sirius, except, shockingly, Pete. So, yeah. We love James, we hate Sirius. So, I've rambled on long enough about my DR. Let's hear some about yours.
Definitely no rambling on your end, but, yeah, sure. We joke about this constantly, but our DRs, at the moment, are paralleling each other in kind of similar ways, at least in the darkness.
Yeah.
It's the rise of Voldemort time, and except I'm on the second end of it and she's on the first end of it, so that's always a wonderful time, they say sarcastically. It's having to deal with the era of Voldemort coming to fruition, with all of the propaganda rhetoric that is just everywhere, especially in the Daily Prophet, on top of dealing with an authoritarian fascist bitch named Umbridge. Really unpleasant time at the moment, I'm gonna be completely honest. It's just, I don't know, it's such an interest. Hold on. Sorry. My ear thing felt like it was coming out. But it's such an interesting thing, you know, with shifting. I actually got this question the other day. It was like, is it weird coming to the end of 2021 and having lived, you know, through other years, not just like back in time, but just like I've lived through 2.5 years now in my DR before we hit 2022. So that is kind of weird, but like also just the life I lived there, I'm so attached to now, but not in a way that's unhealthy, in a way that it's just, I'm able to appreciate my life here and appreciate my life there, and like my life there in all of its darkness and complexity has made me more grateful for my life here, because at times it makes this life seem simple. Not having to deal with a blood supremacist wizard in this reality, like a reality without magic, the simplicity of it, there is gratitude in that.
Definitely. And can we just talk about the propaganda, though? Because I think we're both going through this. The way that the rise of the Voldemort, how the rise of Voldemort has gotten so political. Because because Regulus always says the Dark Lord, and I catch myself saying it, and I hate saying it. Like, he's fucking Voldemort, Tom Riddle. He's nothing. He's a little bitch. So the rise of the little bitch has become so political.
I like that. The rise of the little bitch.
But it's become so political, and it's so scary to see, because people don't even understand how bad it is when they just read these, like, not clickbait, but like, you know, the clickbait, like, headlines in the Prophet, and they don't realize what they're supporting.
And it's the same thing in mine right now. people are reading what is being put out in the Prophet right now, which is being put out like in canon in Harry Potter, at least in this period of time. Like Rita Skeeter had been like ousted from the Daily Prophet because Hermione was holding her big thing over her head. So she was not writing for the Daily Prophet at the time, which is why that they published an article that she wrote about like Harry's experience in the graveyard and what really happened in the Quibbler. But here, that never happened. So Rita Skeeter is still writing for the Daily Prophet, and she is the main source of propaganda. And I would like to believe that she doesn't know that she is the main, like that she is pushing Voldemort propaganda. I would like to believe that she is not actually that evil, because I don't think she's smart enough for Voldemort's rhetoric. I'm gonna be honest. She's not very bright or kind. So, but she is the one writing it, and the thing is the way that she writes makes it so that the average reader, the average wizard who reads it, is going to be agreeing with these anti-Muggle-born statements that are so well written that you can't tell that it is against Muggle-borns.
No, it's so bad. And we had a manifesto. We had a manifesto dropped in the Daily Prophet. So there was an act of violence committed, and that was obviously front page news. And following that, there was a manifesto in which Voldemort was outlining the new world that he wanted, which basically boiled down to, if things don't change, see what happens. And he was basically implying that he wanted something better than the violence that occurred, even though I knew that he was the one who made the violence occur to begin with. And it's just so backwards, because they don't come out and say, we hate Muggleborns. Like, they say the statute of secrecy is being threatened, we need to separate to keep everybody safe. Like, that's the kind of angle they're going with, and everybody essentially is falling for it. And I think by the time the violence properly starts, I feel like it'll be too late.
Yeah, and it seems to, we've seen this, if you've seen any of the Fantastic Beasts series, you see this in Grindelwald's rhetoric, and he's so good about captivating a crowd and making them feel good about themselves, and saying, that Muggles, they're not lesser, just different.
Yes, we've literally had that exact line. Literally that exact line.
Yeah, not lesser, just different. That there's of a different purpose. These things sound reasonable when they're said that way, but what they actually mean is horrible, malicious intention to remove Muggleborns and Muggles from the equation entirely, so that Muggles are in a subservient, subordinate, more, not even just second class, but under second class. Like, Voldemort's at a point where he doesn't need Muggles in the world. He wants a world purely of wizards, run by wizards.
Yeah, exactly. And like the way that he doesn't seem like Muggle-born wizards as being on par with like purebloods. Like, the whole blood supremacy thing to him is such a big deal. Like, it's such a big thing. He just can't, his side or whatever just can't understand that, magic is magic regardless. And even Regulus, who I obviously love, has told me, like, yeah, it makes sense that if you have less magical blood, you perform weaker magic. I was like, say that again to my face, bitch. Like, and this is genuinely what these people believe in. And it's like, it's really difficult to explain, I feel like, because we know, like, canon, so we know that it's bad. But when you're in the middle of it, when you don't know how it ends, like, you have to understand how easy it is to fall for this shit. Like, it's easy to fall for it.
Also, I was gonna say, at least in my DR, there was a opinion piece that came out in the Daily Prophet, because there are opinion sections of the Daily Prophet where readers can submit their own opinions for it, and this was clearly from Voldemort's camp of people as a test to see what the general response would be. But the opinion piece was suggesting the idea that Muggleborns have somehow stolen their magic, that their magic is, that they are not worthy of their magic and it is somehow stolen, that Muggleborns cannot have magic this way. Crazy outlandish things that you don't see until much later on. And it was generally not well received, and there were plenty of other opinion pieces and a lot of conversation about how horrible it was what was being said. So, like, at least that's good for where we're at. But there was plenty of other conversation, especially within university, about, no, like, is that, can magic be stolen? And it's like, students are the people who are so impressionable, like, especially college-age students. Like, we are the ones who are about to be adults and making all these decisions, like, in that world, too. So it's scary to hear all these young people talking about such terrifying topics.
Yeah, it is. It's really scary to walk down the halls and hear people debating, blood supremacy as though it's just politics, when they don't realize that, there's Muggleborns everywhere overhearing this shit, and they don't realize how damaging that is.
I mean, it's just human rights.
Yeah, exactly.
Wizarding rights.
Yeah.
Wizarding human rights.
Okay, so let's stray away from the really dark stuff for a while. Tell me a little bit about George. How did you meet? How did you get together? I always love hearing about your relationship.
Yeah, well, George and I, not something I ever envisioned happening, but definitely something I'm grateful for. I shifted to do magic, to go to I loved college, and I thought going to a magical university would be so fun, especially with these people that I grew up with, absolutely loving, wanting to be friends with, and feeling like I would get along really well with, and it felt like they grew up with me, so going to college with them just, like, seemed like the fun and natural thing to do. So that was really my main priority with it, and, doing magic is really cool, but there was something, this is so corny, feel free to clown me for it. Feel free to clown me for it, I'm fine with it.
No, let's go cheesy. Let's get cheesy. Let's go.
But there is something about looking into their eyes for the first time that just... Oh, shut up! Oh, shut up! Like, shut the fuck up.
Could be me. I have no feelings.
I was sitting in the chair for the sorting hat. The stool. It's not even a chair, it's a stool.
Rickety ass stool.
Yeah, rickety stool does not feel comfortable. And I'm sitting there as this hat is talking into my head about where I could, go housing wise, and I'm like kind of arguing with the hat, whatever, and it's like simultaneously I'm scanning this room and looking for the people that I have known on the page and on the screen for so long. Even though, like, people in my DR don't really look like their movie counterparts. Certain people, like Harry, you can pick out from a mile away. The twins or any of the Weasleys, you can pick out from a mile away. Malfoy, you can pick out from a mile away. Like, there's people, no matter how they look, you know who it is. When they have certain characteristics. So, there was just something, and I was just scanning the room, and they tell me that it happened. I think they might just be, like, inflating my ego and making me feel good about myself, but, like, they said that they felt it too, that, like, it was like, we were looking at each other, like, they were looking at me, I was looking at them, and it was, like, a they felt it too type thing. Again, I think they're just making me feel good about myself, but whatever. Then, yeah, we ended up becoming friends, like, over the next bit. I was on the Quidditch team, so we spent I ended up trying out and making the Quidditch team, so we spent a lot more time together, became really good friends, turned into little, like, talking stuff where we weren't official or anything, and then right before we became official, drama happened, and it ruined things, and then we kind of drifted apart for a while, and then other bad things. I made bad decisions in a bad relationship, And then George saved the day a couple months later, and then we went back to, like, our talking stage after that, and then in June of 1994 started dating. That was chaos. So we've been together for, it'll be 2 years this summer, so.
I love that. That's perfect. You guys are like the blueprint.
Yeah, they're about to leave me. Oh, God, no. They're about to leave me. They're about to drop out of school and leave, and I just can't imagine doing Hogwarts without them.
Oh, my gosh.
Anyways, enough of my corny talk about George. Let me hear all about Regulus.
Oh, you think me talking about Regulus fucking poetry King Black is gonna be less cheesy? First time I met Regulus, first of all. So Severus was showing me around the Slytherin common room. Don't know how I got there because I'm a Ravenclaw. So Sev was showing me around the Slytherin common room. And like we went back to the little library section that was kind of in the back of Slytherin. And Regulus was curled up on the armchair. I didn't know it was Regulus at this point, but Sev was like, this is my sister, Regulus, this is Christine.
Hold on. We need to preface, I need to just interject to say this. She's not a Ravenclaw, she's fucking joking. She is a Slytherin through and through.
Listen, in this reality, every test I take, I get Ravenclaw. Every test I take, I get Ravenclaw.
That's because she knows what answers will give her Ravenclaw.
That is not true. I answer honestly every time.
Mm-hmm. It took so long to convince this one that she was a Slytherin, and then she even shifted to a DR where she was 11 just to know what she would have been put in at that time, and the hat barely touched her head, immediately said Slytherin.
Listen! I have a lot of Slytherin traits.
And my DR, when she got to the hat, it, again, barely touched her head, Slytherin.
I was a hat stall in my DR.
Oh!
I just argued with the hat. I argued for so long for the hat to put me in Ravenclaw. And then the hat was like, the more you argue against your true nature, the more sure I am that my assessment is correct. I was like, fuck off, bitch, I'm a Ravenclaw.
So she is a Slytherin, and she was sorted into Slytherin, and you need that context before she continues this story, because she's not a Ravenclaw, she's a Slytherin. Continue.
So in my Marauders DR, I'm a Slytherin. And now I've lost my train of thought. So anyways, we went back like to the little library section of the Slytherin common room, and Sev was showing me around, and I didn't realize it was Regulus. He was like curled up in an armchair, like a little, you know, like the little nerd he is reading something. And Sev introduced us. He was like, oh, this is my sister, Christine, this is Regulus. And yeah, I mean, when he looked up at me, the eyes, the first thing you notice about him is his eyes, I think. They're like, anyways, we're not gonna do this. I'm not gonna talk about his fucking eyes. But like he introduced us, I said my name, and he like barely looked up from his book. Like he looked at me like I was wholly uninteresting, and he didn't give a single fuck. And then he looked down at his book again to read, and I was like, oh, what are you reading? And he just goes, you wouldn't know it without looking up from his book. I was like, try me. And he said this like obscure name of some French play. It began with a T. La Thebe something. I still don't know fully what it is. And I was like, yeah, I've never heard of it. And then he just looked up at me, smirked, and was like, precisely. Looked back down again, and I was like, that's it. That's the man I'm gonna be with. I knew from that moment. I was like, I denied it for a long time, but I was like, absolutely. You got me in a chokehold from that day. And we kind of figuratively, not literally.
Oh, kinky.
Not on day one. That took a few months. Anyways, so then we got to know each other more over like the next few months, and the first thing I noticed was that because I had a late astronomy class at like midnight, and every time I came back, like after 1 a.m, he'd be waiting up for me. And every time, because he's not really a big drinker, like he never really goes out to big parties and stuff, and every time I came out back to Slytherin, he was always up waiting for me, and I didn't really think anything of it until I noticed the pattern. And we just got closer, and I ended up somehow going to like a pure blood ball with him which was kind of a shit show, but like we kind of bonded, and then like we were friends, and Severus was really, really against us being together because he was always saying how Regulus is too complicated. And then I found out that Regulus's horrible mother had him betrothed to someone. Fucking Electo Caro. We all remember that. But because I'm a Slytherin, so I got him out of it.
Now you admit you're a Slytherin.
I'm a Slytherin, are you happy? I got him out of it with malicious intent, murder on my mind, but we got him out of it. And he was always like, oh, it's not going to change anything. There's always going to be the next person. And then the one changing point for us was I invited him back to my house for my mother's birthday. And he spent the whole weekend with us, with me, Sev, and my mum. And it was like he never realized what a normal family looked like before then, because he was so hesitant about us kind of being together because of his like crazy, insane family, essentially. And he basically thought that he didn't have a choice. He'd have to get married. So what was the point? But then after he saw what a normal family looked like, he was like, oh, wow, yeah, my mom's insane. And that was like a big realization moment for him. And then from there, we kind of just got closer and closer. And then shortly after, like, I started, because, okay, I just had an incident where I saw my Bogart, and it was something to do with Voldemort before anybody knew who Voldemort was. And then him and I got distant because he didn't believe me that something bad was coming. And then from there, we eventually ended up getting together on the 11th of May. I think, yeah, I still stand by that it's a decision he made out of fear, because we had a big conversation about it. Well, because we were talking about the whole Voldemort stuff, and I'd been really distant from him, and he was like, well, you've been avoiding me. And I was like, well, yeah, because you're making me feel like I'm fucking crazy for believing that something bad is coming. And then we had a whole conversation where we were really vulnerable. We both admitted how scared we were. And then he was like, oh, but you're worth it, so should we try? And I was like, yes, let's try. And yeah, now we've been together ever since.
Aww, how cute.
Even though it's going to shit again. Now it's going to shit again, but it's fine.
It'll be fine. If anyone will last, it's this couple.
It's fine.
That wasn't a confident look. Okay, so we've definitely talked about a lot today. So just to wrap us up here, tell me just one of your favorite or funniest stories from your DR.
Okay. I am going to tell you the story about when we were hanging out over the summer, before all the terrible shit started going down, when you accidentally found out that I'm an animagus.
Oh.
So C spent the summer with Lily, and Lily lives really close to me, like me and Severus, Snape, my twin brother. Because you were saying, C, that it's too dangerous to travel back to the US right now. Apparently, so you spent the summer with Lily. And then one day, it was just you and I hanging out, under a tree, just vibing. And we got like to talking about our families, and you told me that your dad is an animagus.
He is.
And I was like, that's cool. And yeah, you told me he's an eagle, which is insane.
What he is in my DR, which is
cool. So yeah, we were talking about that. And then you were saying about how he'd like done it during his Hogwarts years and how you were so curious about it. And then me, without thinking, just goes, oh, it's so difficult, awful, painful, difficult. And I was just like kind of going off on a rant about it. And then C turns to me and goes, oh, do you know much about the process then? And then I was kind of like, I stuttered. And C was like, oh, you're not a secret animagus, are you? Like as a joke. And I was like, and then immediate, because I don't know what it is about C. I just couldn't think of a lie in that moment. I'm maybe a tiny bit intimidated.
Really? Do tell me more.
Please. Anyways. Not us flirting on the podcast.
I mean...
Anyways,
maybe I just created this podcast as a way for us to spend more time together.
Oh my god, bestie.
Babe.
I love you.
I love you too.
Babe. Okay, shut the fuck up right now.
Yes, ma'am.
That's what I like to hear. So we were talking about it, and then C was like, no, and they started like freaking out about it, and I was like, it's a secret, you can't tell anyone, nobody knows that we are, and I said we instead of I, like as a fucking Freudian slip, and C goes, we? We who? And I paused again, and C goes, oh my god, don't tell me fucking Potter and his idiots, and they started going off. They're like, he's so stupid, how the fuck did he manage to do it? I understand how you did it, but how the fuck did Potter and Sirius? And I was once again fighting for my life. I was like, James is really smart, actually. Fighting for my life. I was like, hey, they're smarter than they seem. They're smarter than they seem. And then I was saying...
Professional apologist.
Please. They were, asking a lot about it because they were super curious. And then I was saying, James and I are the only ones who fully completed the process. Sirius and Pete have their animals, though, but they haven't fully completed the process. And then C goes, what about Remus? And I was like, yep, Remus. The known animagus. Remus? Lupin. Like, I just didn't know what to say, because obviously Remus is a werewolf, but C doesn't know that in my DR. And then I was just kind of stuttering through an explanation, and C looked me dead in the eyes and goes, you're lying again. And I was like, But, I started saying that, it's Remus's secrets, and I can't spill Remus's secrets, and it's because I can't, I can't tell other people that Remus is a werewolf. And C, you understood, C, but you are definitely very curious. And then you started asking me about the process. So, potentially we could be seeing Animagus C in the future. Who knows?
If I become an Animagus, I'm so interested to see what my form is.
I'm so curious, too. I want you and Sam to do it together. I think that'd be really cool.
That'd be great. Just all of us. What if it'd be Sam, Lily, and Marlene are the other ones?
Not half the school becoming anime guys.
Secret anime guy against the law.
Literally. And it's so illegal and so difficult. And then, half the school graduates. And the half of us are just anime guy.
All of them are anime guy.
But yeah, I really hope that you do it, because that would be so cool. But yeah, we've definitely been discussing it more. And hopefully you also find out Remus's secret soon, because keeping it is stressful. Anyways, why don't you tell me a fun story about something that happened in your DR?
Yeah, there's so many that could be said, just because every day with Fred Weasley is another day that is just meant for comedy.
Another day, another curse.
Another day, another curse. Yeah, literally. Fred Weasley has made it his life mission to make Christine fall in love with him.
Never gonna work.
Because Christine's literally, the one and only girl who's, fuck off. Truly, fuck off to him. So, just all of their interactions are very comical. Even from day one, where, Fred was leaning against the doorway at Grimmauld Place, and I was like, hey, and thinking he's so cool. And Christine immediately was just never going to happen, as she was just walked out, and absolutely not.
On brand.
We want to hear from you, and we want to hear what you want to hear on the podcast. So feel free to leave comments of shifting questions you have, DR questions you have, stories you want to hear, anything. We would love to hear about it.
Yep, any sort of ideas for episodes, anything that you'd like to hear us talk about, anything at all, just let us know, because hopefully we'll be doing a lot more episodes in the future, and we won't drop this.
That is us saying this to hold ourselves accountable more than anything else.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's all, right?
I think that's it. Thank you so much for listening and watching and being interested. And we'll see you next time.
Yeah, see you next time. Go shift. You got this.